Insomniac's Spider-Man is one of my favorite games ever. I even enjoyed the Miles Morales title, and despite being disappointed with its sequel and its terrible story, I still enjoyed the gameplay. But that got me thinking, what about other Spider-Man titles that weren't developed by Insomniac Games? I mean, after all, I never grew up playing any of the Spider-Man games until I got a PS4 and played the newest one at the time. So I thought to myself, why not look at some of the previous 3D Spider-Man games from the PS2 and PS3 era? I mean, so many people are talking about those classic Spider-Man games that I never grew up playing, so why not give them a shot? So I decided to try out the more popular Spider-Man games that came out and give my thoughts on them. Now, keep in mind, those are all first impressions of the games, and my thoughts on them can change after multiple playthroughs. I normally would tell people to play a game multiple times to give it a fair review. So without further ado, let's start off with the first game on our list, Spider-Man 2. The original Spider-Man 2, not the new one. You're probably asking yourself why I haven't started with the first Raimi Spider-Man game, and that's because I wanted to try out the sequel, which is the one most people are familiar with. So let's give it a shot. Wow, and what a game this is. Spider-Man 2 was the very first open-world Spider-Man game where we can swing around New York with webs attached to buildings. In other games, Spider-Man would just kinda web the air and swing from it. So this was some groundbreaking stuff at the time. The story to this game is nothing amazing or anything. It somewhat follows the plot of the movie, but they had to make a few changes to it. I mean, you can't really make a game around this 2-hour movie, considering not only isn't there a whole lot of content in the movie to make a superhero game, but also part of the plot revolves around Spider-Man losing his abilities. So what they did is just kinda add a bunch of filler into the game that doesn't really have anything to do with the movie itself. Like, we got some silly stuff like Quentin Beck challenging Spider-Man in an arena to prove that he's a fraud, and they do that by putting a bunch of criminals into the arena and throw them into these holes.
Your first challenge will be something you're supposedly quite good at. Rounding up criminals. That's it. Alright, whatever.
They even released Shocker for this for some reason. Like, this is so stupid, because why would you do that with a bunch of criminals in the first place? I mean, I think I'm not supposed to take this seriously in the first place by the way the game frames this entire thing, but it's still like a funny thing to think about. That's even how Herman escapes and becomes the Shocker later on. Like, what? And later on, Quentin becomes Mysterio and we fight him. Well, we fight him, but after like we reach him, we just like one-shot the guy and he's defeated. And later on we fight Shocker. You know, it's stuff like that just to fill up time. One interesting change they did was that instead of it being about Spider-Man losing his powers, it's about Black Cat appearing and trying to convince Spider-Man to give up his life as Peter Parker and embrace being Spider-Man due to being unable to balance his normal life.
Hey, what took you so long?
Running late seems to be part of my idiom.
You work too hard. Ditch the mild-mannered civilian routine. This life is so much more fun. Give it a try. Take the weight of the world off your shoulders.
You don't understand. You don't know why I do this. I just finally realized something. I'm not like you. I can't live the life that you do. My powers came with a responsibility, and I need the balance of a normal life. Being Spider-Man is who I am. But being just me, that's who I am too.
It's still in line with the original movie story of Peter being unable to balance his life, but changes it in a way that is more fitting for a video game. I like that. Obviously the conflict with Otto and his machine is still in the game, but something that is different is that he blames Spider-Man for Rosie's death, and it's one of the reasons he hates him.
Yes, of course. That murderous arachnid Spider-Man. He killed Rosie. Destroyed my life's work in an instant. I'll rebuild it though and kill him.
I hope for your sake that he cares more for your life than he did for Rosie's.
I didn't kill your wife!
Oh, you did more than just kill Rosie. You destroyed my life. Parker, you've been sabotaging me all along. You killed my Rosie. I'm going to kill the woman you love.
Like, he keeps talking about how her death is his fault, which I don't recall him doing in the movie. I mean, to be fair, the arms are gaslighting Otto into not blaming himself and taking responsibility, so it still works, but it's something the movie didn't do that often. Overall, I would say the story is a decent enough retelling of the movie. The filler stuff is just kinda whatever. The Black Cat stuff is decent enough, but everything else is just Harry isn't interesting, Mary Jane shows up like 4 times or so and does nothing interesting. The graphics in this game is also nothing to write home about. The character models look pretty bad, but at the very least it's not like uncanny bad or anything. It's one of those games that you understand is like, yeah, this is one of the earliest games where they tried something new and had limitations on the system and whatnot. So it's passable at best. Something I find strange is the fact that during in-game cutscenes, Peter wears glasses, despite the fact that the whole point of him getting his spider powers in the movie is so that he doesn't need glasses anymore. And what's even funnier is the fact that during pre-rendered cutscenes, Peter doesn't wear glasses. Like, was there some miscommunication between the people who made the pre-rendered cutscenes and the people working on the in-game models? Spider-Man himself looks fine, I guess. What's also not that great is the voice acting. I mean, most of the characters are just fine. Nothing that like really stands out as truly amazing, but Tobey Maguire is just so bad in this game. He sounds bored like 90% of the times.
What was I thinking? I must have looked totally crazy. Things could never work out. What about the danger?
Actually, Dr. Octavius, may I ask you something?
The fusion reactor is brilliant, but how will you control the reaction? Okay, Doc. I'm here. Where is she?
Maybe it's because of bad direction, like maybe Toby didn't know what was happening during certain scenes, or maybe he just didn't want to be here, I don't know. Like even as Spider-Man, where he's supposed to be more energetic, he just sounds bored like most of the time. Well, that was the story, but what about the gameplay side? The web swinging in this game is pretty good. I love the sense of speed you can get while swinging around New York, and you can build up a lot of momentum. Though one thing that kinda bothered me at times is the fact that when you attach yourself onto a building, Spider-Man sorta gravitates towards that building, which could mess up your swinging sometimes. Like, I get it was supposed to be like, oh, it's more realistic, but it's a bit of a bother. Like, for example, I want to turn a specific direction, but Spider-Man decides to move towards the direction where the web is attached to, which could end up doing something you didn't intend on doing. I don't know if I'm explaining myself well enough. Other things that annoy me is that Spider-Man sometimes likes to go as low as possible when swinging, when all I want to do is gain height, which can also sometimes mess you up. I think the best example is during the mission where you have to swing to the Statue of Liberty using the flying things. But like, I didn't know if I was like missing something, but like Spider-Man is barely gaining any height, which almost caused me to fall into the water, and when you actually reach the statue, you have to hit like these ball things, but once again, Spider-Man is barely gaining any height, and sometimes just loves going as low as possible. So it took me like way longer to beat this than it probably should have. Or in this section with the burning building, where you have to save a bunch of civilians. You can't stick yourself onto walls and crawl to the balcony. You have to swing yourself up there, but once again, Spider-Man just has this tendency of swinging as low as possible, so he messed up my jumps, and I fell into the fire. The jumping in this game feels really powerful. Like, look at how high you can jump, it's so satisfying, especially when you're running and Spider-Man's just flailing his arms around. Combat? I think it's fine. You do get a decent amount of moves to pull off. I mean, once again, it's nothing to write home about, but it works. I love the sound effect used when punching people. It feels so powerful, like it really hurts. Dodging is something I've had a bit of an issue with, because sometimes it feels like despite pressing the circle button to dodge, it sometimes just won't work at all for like no reason. I think this is mainly when fighting a crowd of enemies, but during 1v1 fights it works the best. I think it's mainly the fact that you have to wait for your attack animation to stop until you can use your dodge, which is why you can easily get crowded sometimes. And it can get annoying. Like here for example, during the Dog Ock fight at the bank. Like, what the heck is this? What is going on? on. You can use your spider sense in that game to help you a little bit during combat, which like makes everything slower. Though it doesn't seem to always work, and you can't use it all the time. The way to get spider sense is to fill up this blue bar, which you can fill up by perfectly dodging enemies or punching them. Another thing that bothered me a little but isn't that big of a deal is the way to progress through the game. So probably because they had barely anything to work with, the game forces you to do these random events happening throughout the map, which is to earn a certain number of hero points. Each chapter has like one story mission and the rest is you having to farm for hero points. It doesn't take super long to get them really, so it's a minor inconvenience, but it's still something that bothered me because it's not like the game has that much side content to begin with, so you'd be repeating a lot of the same things. And yes, this is also a game with the pizza missions where you have to deliver pizza and listen to this annoying song that for some reason gets faster and faster and drives me insane. The other songs are bangers though. I love some of the tracks in this game. Chasing Black Cat the first few times was fine, but later on in the game it ends up overstaying its welcome. They can go on for a bit too long, and when you lose her, you have to repeat a big portion of it again. I didn't really like the Shocker fights in this game because most of it is just Shocker just running away and we barely do any damage on him until he pulls his shockwave attack thing. It's especially annoying during the second fight where you have to wait for Black Cat to activate this switch to turn off his shield, and we can barely do any damage to none at all, and he activated his shield again, so you have to wait once again for Black Cat to deactivate the shield, which at this point just becomes an endurance test. Fortunately, not the whole boss fight is like this, because at one point his shield is turned off completely. This part with the sun machine was also a bit annoying. Barely any room to avoid this force field. I know you have to like time it, but it's not helping when this room is like already crammed enough and the first switch you deactivate doesn't give you any time to react at all. Surprisingly, I didn't have any issues with the force field during the final battle. The final boss with Octavius is actually pretty easy. Once I figured out to just keep on dodging his tentacles until you filled up your spider sense and then beat him up. It was a cakewalk. I didn't even lose any damage to it. This game isn't really that long, only like around 5 hours to beat the main story. But after finishing the game, you are free to explore the whole city and mess around. They ask you to get 5,000 points and I have no idea what will happen after you get that many. But hey, it's something you can do to keep yourself busy while exploring the city. Now, with all of these issues, it almost sounds as if I dislike the game or something. Well, nah, not really. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not like this game is a masterpiece or anything, but overall I think a majority of it is an okay time. I mean, the web swinging is what sells the game the most, and that one is really fun to play with. This is one of those games that while I don't really think is that amazing, I can still respect it for what it brought us on the table, especially with how it inspired future Spider-Man games. I think I pretty much have said everything I wanted to say about this game, so let's move on to the next one. Now this one is interesting. Ultimate Spider-Man came out a year later and it's based off the Ultimate Spider-Man comic book series that was like pretty new around that time. I have never read the Ultimate comics, heck, I don't really read comics in general, but the stuff I heard about that happens in it are pretty extreme. So basically, this game serves as a non-canon continuation to the Venom storyline, or it was canon at first and then it was decanonized or something from what I've heard, I don't know. This game goes for a comic book style, which actually looks pretty good. Even in high resolution, this game still holds up graphically. Well, most of the time. I think sometimes the humans can look a bit weird and Green Goblin looks kinda stupid, but overall the game looks really good. The voice acting is also a step up from the previous game. Peter is voiced by Sean Marquette, and all I kept hearing from him was just pens from Kingdom Hearts 2.
You done with my butt? Hole yet? He sure seemed in a hurry. He had a black coat on, so I couldn't see his face.
But even then, I would say he fits this version of Peter pretty well. He does a much better job voicing Spider-Man than Tobey Maguire did for the previous game. And the soundtrack is so good. I think it's even better than Spider-Man 2. The story to the game is fine, I guess, but I think it had a bit too much going on and is way too fast-paced. Like as if this game is on ADHD. These cutscenes don't really have any time to breathe, but I think that's mainly the result of them trying to do these comic book strip cutscenes, which needs to have something interesting going on between them, and I think this is why it's so fast-paced. The first few minutes is kind of funny to me story-wise, because after a fight with Venom, it starts off with MJ telling Peter that she's not finished stitching up his suit, so like during gameplay we're just jumping and swinging around as Peter Parker.
Kind of defeats the whole anonymous superhero thing.
During the story we keep switching between Spider-Man and Venom, with Venom having his own thing going on where he's kidnapped by Trask and is being tested by them. Silver Sable and S.H.I.E.L.D. are also involved in this. Instead of the symbiote being an alien, it instead was something created by Eddie and Peter's father in a lab, and it goes around eating people in order to stay alive. So I'm guessing the symbiote is just straight up evil in the Ultimate Universe that goes around causing havoc around the city. I mean, Hank, one of the first things you do is just straight up eat a child? Like, that's freaking messed up. I don't like the way Venom looks without the spider logo. He feels incomplete without it. He does get the logo like at the end of the game for some reason. The game does have a pretty dark tone, which is interesting. A lot of characters just randomly appear and don't really have much to do with the story. Like things just happen. Like, oh look, it's Wolverine and we fight him as Venom. Does he ever show up again? Nope, he was just there for a cameo, I guess. Hey look, it's the Human Torch. He's only here to race you if you want. I guess that's cool. Rhino shows up and he has nothing to do with the story. Now we're fighting Electro. Oh look, Beetle shows up randomly and grabs Sandman. That's important, I think. Oh, Sandman never even appears in this game? Oh, and after Beetle is defeated, he just disappears from the story? Okay.
Hey! I know you get this all the time, but any of you see a big scary robot guy with a backpack?
Once again, this game isn't really long. I beat it in like 4 hours, which is like 1 hour shorter than Spider-Man 2. Gameplay portion, I think, is an improvement as well over Spider-Man 2. While web swinging doesn't have the same speed as in the previous game, it's still fast and it feels pretty good to control. I didn't really have the issue of like gravitating towards buildings when swinging around. It feels a lot smoother to pull off. And you can even climb up your web to gain height. That's really cool. The double jump in this game also feels really good to pull off. It's so smooth and you have full control on where you're going. I love the fact that after using your webs you could still perform a jump, which is simple, but it feels very satisfying to pull off. I love the Nokia phone advertisements around the city. Hey guys, remember Nokia phones? Yeah.
Hold on, I have another call.
Rooftop, now.
Combat? It's fine. I love this diving move that you can pull off, which is useful, but I don't recall this game having that many combos to pull off. Maybe I just suck at the game, but like the moves I did work totally fine throughout the game, I don't know. You can even hang enemies on light poles, but I never did that and it was never something I had to do, so I don't... Yeah, there is no dodge button in this game, so if you see the spider sense, you have to jump away from attacks, which sometimes isn't too useful when you're fighting enemies with guns, because when you're focused on doing something specific on one enemy, the one with the gun can just shoot you and you can't just easily dodge it. It's not like I had any issues where I kept dying or something. It's one of those inconveniences that feel a bit off. In order for enemies to stay down, you have to wet them up for some reason. I mean, it's a cool thing, but I don't really see the point of it. This game has like the same issue that the previous game had, where they lock the story missions behind tasks that you have to do around the city. While once again, it's not a big issue, it makes the open world seem more like busy work you are forced to do than actually like fun stuff you do on your own free will if you like it. Again, this is probably done because the game is very short and just locked the story missions until you did a certain number of tasks to pad out the game. Something that bothered me with this game is that most of the story missions are just chasing a villain around the city, and sometimes they drag on for way longer than they should. That Electro chase bothered me the most because it's so long with no checkpoints at all. So if you lose him, you have to redo a big portion of the chase again. I was even so stupid that I completely forgot you can press R2 to make big jumps until someone told me. Yeah. That's on me. The beetle chase is also long, but at least I added checkpoints to it. There is almost no variety to the missions. Outside of chasing them, the other thing you do is play as Venom and cause havoc around the city. The objectives you get is to kill a certain number of enemies and go somewhere the game points you at. At first I thought playing as Venom was cool, but later on it became a bit of a chore, especially when you slowly lose your health and so many enemies are shooting at you that you always have to make sure to find a person that you can eat to refill your health. It's not bad, it can be really fun, but again, these are like small inconveniences. The bosses in this game are kinda mid. It's not like they're really difficult or anything, and some do use tactics to defeat them, but most of them repeat like the same 2 or 3 attacks constantly with like no variety whatsoever. So it ends up just being an endurance test until you beat them. The Electro boss was like the worst one for me, because like as a first time player, if you didn't know you had to destroy all the neon signs around the battlefield, Electro will just refill his health till it's full again, and you have to repeat the same process of throwing cars at him and hit him and all that. But then during the boss fight the game crashed, so I had to redo the whole Electro chase again until I got to that point. But this time I knew what I was supposed to do, so it was over very quickly. Electro is also voiced by James Arnold Taylor, so all I had in my mind was just Ratchet from Ratchet & Clank.
I did it! I finally got that little yutz!
Alright, let's finish this up.
Like hell! I got dibs!
Something funny that happened to me later on in the game is this glitch here with the car, where it looked like this and it kept falling in the water, making me unable to progress through the game. I was playing this game on an emulator, so this normally shouldn't happen.
I can barely hold on.
Hang on! I'll help you!
First you try to kill me, now you're helping me?
So I did all kinds of changes in the options, even turning off widescreen and the 60 FPS patch, thinking maybe those were causing the issue to happen. So for the rest of the game, I just had to deal with playing the game like this. You fight Venom like 3 times in this game, and he doesn't really change his moves. He keeps repeating the same 2 or 3 attacks, even during the final boss. He doesn't change his patterns at all. All you had to look out was for him not destroying the helicopter. And yes, I know I was almost dying here, but that's because I played like an idiot. I like the beetle fight with both Peter and Venom. At least this time I had to fight like a boss that was flying around, and the arena changed, where I had to not fall in those pits. After you beat the story missions, you're once again free to explore the city and gather all the city tasks you're missing. Overall, while I think it's a step up from the previous game, it does have its issues that keep the game from being like really great. But I like this game way more than I do Spider-Man 2. So far, this is my favorite one. So what's next on the list? Spider-Man 3 for the PS3 is a game based on the Spider-Man 3 movie that is like pretty bad. And when there's a bad movie, it will also receive a bad game. Okay, in all honesty, this game is really bad. Probably one of the worst Spider-Man games I have ever played. I have seriously no idea what the thought process was with a lot of the decisions made in this game. And I seriously question how it ended up this way. This is the same studio that made the previous 2 games. I thought at that point they would improve on what the previous game lacked, but no actually. They decided to take what already worked previously and just make it worse. To get the elephant out of the room, this game looks hideous. The character models especially, with their weird big eyes and poor textures and weird movements. Like Spider-Man 2 didn't have amazing models, but like at least it wasn't so weirdly uncanny.
Help! Please! Someone! I'm going to die!
The story to this game, good lord, it's really bad. Like, the previous game stories weren't like high art. They were fine for what they were, but Jesus Christ, they dropped the ball when it comes to this game. It does such a poor job at retelling the events of the movie that it completely misses the key moments that happened in it and just expects you to either already know what happened in the movie, or they give these characters very poor motivations to begin with. They give like no background on who Sandman is or what his motivation is or anything at all. There are 42 missions in the game, and you get the black suit at like mission 26, which is like more than halfway through the game. Most of the game has been filler stories, but when you get the black suit, you go and fight Sandman immediately, but since they never give us the reasons for why Spider-Man hates Sandman so much, it just makes it seem like Spider-Man just randomly decided to murder a man for no reason. Same goes for Eddie Brock. The only reason Eddie wants to kill Spider-Man is because he punched him once in the face, and that's it. It's not like he ruined his life or anything, and that's the reason you want to kill him?
Oh, you think you're smart, buddy? Well, think again. I hit a bunch of cameras around here, and now I have an even better shot than I was planning. You punching me in the jaw and taking my camera. So thanks.
Venom's design is just garbage. Like, they gave him these thunder thighs, and he also has such a stupid voice that doesn't fit him at all.
Isn't this sweet? Just like in the movies.
What do you want from me, you freak?
Freak? I'm the freak. Have you looked in the mirror lately? Now, let's talk about how we're going to destroy the spider.
The way the black suit works in this game is also just poorly handled. Like, I get the black suit is supposed to amplify Peter's negative emotions and make him a jerk. Like, sure, during missions he can be a bit rude with his words, but then we get to like the part where we go on a date with MJ and he just decided to be rude to her for like no reason entirely.
You've hardly said 3 words all night. Is everything all right?
I figured you were talking enough for both of us.
Peter, what's gotten into you lately?
Nothing that's stopping your gums from flapping wouldn't solve.
We also get like hilarious moments like this.
Hey, Betty. Looking good.
Thanks, Pete.
No, seriously, I would definitely.
I think Mr. Jameson had a job for you. Why don't you go in and see him?
You're lost, babe. What's up, JJ?
Get over to the courthouse. The chief of police is holding a press conference. And get your feet off my desk.
What's the magic word?
Now!
I was thinking please, but whatever.
When we get to the end game after Venom kills Harry, he's just not acknowledged by the game at all anymore. Peter doesn't yell his name or anything, and after defeating Venom they just ignore his existence, like as if they completely forgot who Harry is. At the very least, the game ditches the whole "I'm gonna force you to do side tasks in the open world in order to progress through the story" thing, in favor of like actual story missions to complete with their own little arcs. I didn't really care for any of them really, cause they aren't really all that interesting. What they did for this game is introduce like original gangs that aren't from the comics, like the Arsenic Candy, who are these golf girls who steal a bunch of stuff to host a wedding with some Randy, but then the main girl decided she doesn't want him anymore and then orders everyone to kill him. Like, wow, what an epic story. At least they get a banger theme. The Order of the Dragon Tail, which is like gang of ninjas or something. They want to steal some statues to make money or something. Like, wow. The Apocalypse, who wanna... I don't care. The point is, we get more variety from the story missions, even if they're like not really all that interesting. Kingpin shows up at one point for like no reason. He releases all of the previous bosses, and after you beat him and throw him out the window, he just disappears. Like, where did he go? What happened to him? Will we ever see him again? Nope, he's just gone from the story. Well, then what was the point of even putting him in the game? You cannot be serious. The only one I actually liked was the Scorpion subplot. Basically, Scorpion is being experimented on by this evil company called Mecha Biocon that is led by Dr. Stillwell. One of the doctors is the only one that showed any kindness to Scorpion, and during the mission we are helping Scorpion break out and get rid of his mind control. And after that we team up with him by going back to the company and take them down, even fighting Rhino alongside him. So Scorpion is not even a villain in this game, and his story of suffering under the mind control thing and having a scorpion tail stuck to his body for the rest of his life is pretty sad. Made me really invested in his story. The rest is whatever. The voice acting is like still pretty bad, but I think Toby does a slightly better job in this game than he did in the previous one, but that doesn't stop from the game from giving us amazing voice lines.
Leave it for the bomb squad. Yeah, whatever. From now on, I am the bomb squad.
The gameplay is probably my biggest issue with this game. First, let's talk about the web swinging. It's fine, but it doesn't feel as fast as the other two. At the very least, I can gain height pretty well, unlike in Spider-Man 2. I never had any problems with it. One thing I do like is the sense of scale. You really feel like you're in a big city with all these tall buildings around. The biggest enemy in the game is probably the camera. It has a tendency to just spaz out and do whatever the heck it wants. Even while swinging, it's hard to really keep track of Spider-Man's position because he constantly moves around. In the previous games, they made sure that Spider-Man will mostly always stay right in the middle of the screen when you're swinging around. But no, here they decided he can do whatever the heck he wants. Even during interior missions, you have to fight the camera constantly. Wall crawling is probably the worst part because the game even insists on you using stealth. But how can I when I can't see what is going on? Like, what the heck is this? What is going on? Combat is fine for the most part. You get a good amount of combos to unlock and they can be pretty fun to pull off. But here are my issues. So there are these special attacks you can pull off by pressing R1 and one of the shape buttons. But like, I have no idea why, but sometimes it just doesn't want to immediately activate. So what you do is like just spam the buttons until you pull it off. Which can be annoying when you want to pull it off at a specific time, but it's messed up now because the enemies moved or something. And sometimes your attacks just don't land for no reason. You dodge attacks by activating your spider sense, which this time automatically refills. But like half the times it just doesn't work for like no reason. It's especially bad when enemies shoot at you and half the time you can't dodge the bullets at all. You cannot be serious. Some enemies can only be beaten by using strong attacks with triangle, but there was no indication at all. So like these enemies with hammers just kept blocking all of my attacks. Like, how was I supposed to know this? This is another issue with the game. It sometimes doesn't make it clear on what you have to do next. So like here for example, there was this mission where I had to take pictures of these golf girls. But after a fight broke out and I beat all of them, the game punished me for not taking a picture of the brawl. Despite the fact that the game didn't give me any indication that I had to do that. So I had to do the whole mission again of these characters slowly walking up and taking pictures. Oh, but now it shows me what to do. My guess is because I had the camera on, the text prompt didn't show up. But come on, I had the camera on because it was a mission where I had to take pictures. I didn't know what was gonna happen next. Why didn't you put the text prompt above the camera? They should have accounted for that. Or another mission where I had to defend this dinosaur statue. I beat all of the enemies and then the game just stopped giving me any directions on what to do next, so I walked around like an idiot for a few minutes until I happened to walk in this room specifically so that a cutscene will trigger. Like, how was I supposed to know that? And the glitches, like Jesus. There is one part where I had to chase a lizard in the sewers and I didn't have to lose him for like no reason because you know the tunnel is just one path. But then he decided to just get stuck down there, which made me unable to continue the game. So I failed the mission and restarted, but now it just didn't move at all and started attacking me and I couldn't attack him, so I had to fail the mission again. During the final battle, the audio started like muffling and I had no idea why this happened. So the whole fight with Sandman was just this. The bosses are probably the worst part of the game. It's not like they're really difficult, but Jesus Christ, they have so much health. And most of the bosses keep repeating like the same 2 or 3 attacks, so all it ends up being is just an endurance test. The Kraven boss gave a bit of variety because he like changes into like these animals and uses their abilities throughout the fight, so that one was at least more tolerable. The Lizard fight is just having to wait for Lizard to stop all of his attacks so that you can whip him up and then Super Mario 64 him into these generators. But make sure you don't miss because otherwise this part will drag on for longer than it should. The Kingpin boss fight is just so boring. So your normal attacks are unable to hit him. He will just block all of them. So what you have to do is fill up your rage meter so that you can beat him. The boss fight doesn't have any unique patterns or variety. It's just this the whole time. So make sure you don't die because otherwise you have to repeat the whole process. Like half of these wouldn't have been so bad if they just reduced the number of health. But no, for some reason they just decided to give them a huge amount because we need to pad out the game. You cannot be serious. Near the end they change it to Harry and they force in these weird motion controls. So do yourself a favor and turn them off in the menu. You have the ability to use your sword, but it's pretty much useless because all you have to do is just throw bombs at Sandman. How fun. The game also introduces these quick time events, because this is a game from the year 2007 where QTEs became popular. Some of them are cool to pull off, but like sometimes they give you like no time at all to react to them for no reason. And other times they have no reason to be quick time events at all. Like, what was the point of that? Why couldn't I just swing to the objective? You cannot be serious. All of these issues ended up making the game feel like a chore instead of actually being fun. I wouldn't recommend this game at all. Well, so far I would say my favorite one has to be Ultimate Spider-Man. And so far I would say while we did have a pretty decent start, it did fall off with Spider-Man 3. But maybe that was just a fluke. Maybe something bad happened behind the scenes that probably caused them to rush the game, so a lot of the things in it ended up being unpolished. I would definitely recommend checking out Spider-Man 2 and Ultimate if you haven't yet. They're far better games than this one, and you actually get something out of them, which is swinging mechanics and cool jump controls and stuff, you know? I mean, sure, I said I didn't like Spider-Man 2 all that much by comparison to Ultimate Spider-Man, but I don't think this should stop you from checking it out. It's still an alright game. We still have more games to check out. Next time I will be taking a look at Web of Shadows, Shattered Dimensions, and Edge of Time. My hope is simply that the next games will be an absolute banger. I don't know. I mean, maybe they'll end up being better than the Insomniac games. Who knows? So yeah, I have no idea how to end this video. Go play Ratchet & Clank.